I would like to introduce a dear friend and an associate, Tara Uzra Dawood. She's the president and founder of Lean in Pakistan Foundation. Tara is a dear friend, a kindred spirit, and of course, a fabulous mentor. Tara is one of the most awesome women that I've known in Karachi. Thank you for being you, Tara.
Thank you so much, Anushae, for being here, and of course, Raafia, for that beautiful recitation. And most importantly, our special chief guest, MP Iqra Khalid, who is a role model and inspiration and trailblazer for us all, and our collaborative partner, Samir, Dossal, and the entire Canada Pakistan Business Council, who have partnered with us for many, many events and today's very, very special occasion. I have the very special honor of introducing Lean in Pakistan to not only the community here who's very vibrantly familiar with it, but to all of you. And would like to say that Lean In is founded by Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, and one of the most extraordinary women in tech. She's also the woman behind the entire Lean In movement. If you haven't seen her phenomenal and very viral TED Talk, where she speaks about unapologetic ambition. And the concept of lean in basically just means that. And she talks about the concepts of not being bossy, but being the boss, and other ways to position and look at women. Her talk became so viral, it ended up having the book by the same name, which became a bestseller and is in multiple languages. We're still trying to get it in Urdu. And then that led to her having her circles all around the world, of which we, of course, have had the first Lean In event in all of Asia, all of MENA, I think 6 years ago, or is it now 7? And Samir Dossal had been one of our guests there at that occasion. And that is when Sheryl Sandberg had featured Lean In Pakistan on her Facebook personal page. And that was before it was officially Lean In Pakistan. It was just a Lean In event we held. And today we are now one of 10 affiliates globally out of 182 Lean In chapters that have been granted independent foundation status. So this is Lean In Pakistan Foundation, and we're very, very proud of that honor. And we have the honor of not only having an amazing board, an amazing number of women who are running things, from our circles coordinator, Raafia, Raafia Mamujee, who you will definitely hear from the end of today's call, our youth leader, who is, of course, the phenomenal Eesha, who was recently featured also by Sheryl, and she's going to speak about the youth circles at the end. We also have some visitors from India on this call because we are partnering with Lean In Gurgaon on the importance of peace across nations and using art and culture for that. So there is Lean In Pakistan is a trailblazer in many ways for that. But today's call and today's event is extra special because of MP Khalid. MP Khalid is somebody who not only is dressed so beautifully in yellow, but literally brightens up everyone's day with her vision, her spark, and her ability to just trailblaze, her ability to go after what she wants with a kindness, a grace, and a determination, and with very strong integrity. When we had sent out the invites for today's call, as some of you know, I had sent it out to the Harvard graduates of Pakistani origin as well. And one graduate, Rizwan Tafel, had written that MP Khalid is the real deal. She's somebody who supports her families at times of need, good times, bad times, while they, of course, support her. And they have an amazing, phenomenal system, but she's down to earth, humble, and someone that he and his daughter had campaigned for at her re-election. And so this is not only MP Khalid, who is the first-time MP, she is a re-elected MP. And although very, very young, is seasoned, and although at the start of her career, is actually someone we can truly learn from. So I thank you all for joining us today. And of course, thank Anushae for being the speaker chair and continuing with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tara. Next, we have a very special collaborator with us this morning and this evening from the Canada-Pakistan Business Council. I would like to request its president, Mr. Samir Dossal, to please say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum and greetings from Toronto. It's a pleasure to be here today. It's a pleasure to partner with this wonderful event. I will just like to say a very few words about the Canada-Pakistan Business Council. Our mandate is to promote bilateral trade and relations between Canada and Pakistan. Having said that, at times as we move forward, the best way to enhance trade is to enhance bilateral relationship. And in that, we try and make an effort to collaborate with many of our global partners. I would like to here especially mention the Dawood Global Foundation, which is being headed by Uzra Dawood, an amazing champion, an amazing woman who is doing some wonderful work. Canada-Pakistan Business Council has agreed in principle to jointly collaborate with the foundation, and there are many initiatives, including the Educate a Girl, Lean in Pakistan, and the other one. Go for
Ladies Fund.
Okay. Ladies Fund, of course. And I'm really excited with the fact that as part of our mandate, when I took over as the president of the Canada-Pakistan Business Council, I made two commitments at our very, very first board meeting. I said, you know, whilst we promote trade, as part of the Millennium Goals, we will help promote youth engagement and women empowerment. And as part of our commitment to that, here is what we are doing. And I'm delighted to welcome our very own, I have to say, our very own Iqra Khalid. She's been an amazing inspiration for all the youth in Canada. Seeing Iqra, everybody wants to get into politics. Isn't that great? This is what inspiration, this is what her role has been. She's played some amazing roles in the parliament, many amazing initiatives, young lawyer coming at an age. So what I tell people is that, you know what, see examples of people like Iqra Khalid and dream big. Have a passion, make the commitment. I tell you, if you make that commitment, good things will happen. We all need that. We all need to support initiatives. Let me tell people in Pakistan, it is women empowerment, and the role is not just for Pakistan only. We are doing, there is a need to be working over here as well. And we will continue on the CPBC platform whilst we work together. So Iqra, honestly, it's a pleasure. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to stop at that. And at some point in time, whenever there's a need, I will step in. But thank you. And back to Anushae.
Thank you very much, Samir. You're always so amazing. Now I would like to take the pleasure of interviewing MP Iqra Khalid. Iqra Khalid is the Member of Parliament for Mississauga Erin Mills, currently serving her second consecutive term. She serves as the chair of the Women's Caucus and the chair of the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights. She also serves as a member of the International Human Rights Subcommittee of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development. As a member of Parliament, she has conducted studies on contemporary human rights issues, including online hate and human trafficking in Canada and around the world, participating in vetting processes for federal judges, and spoken out on the human rights crises of minority groups such as the Rohingya peoples. She also founded the Mississauga Erin Mills Women's Council, a group of 12 dynamic and accomplished women who advise her on the issues facing women and girls in Mississauga. She also conducts regular town halls and informative seminars on a wide range of topics, including mental health, seniors issues, community safety, immigration, and opportunities for youth and newcomers to Canada. So that's the fabulous Iqra Khalid. Now I'd like to pursue my interview with Iqra. Iqra, shall we get started?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Iqra, it's a pleasure and an honor, and I feel blessed to be able to interview you today. So let's get started. Iqra, my first and foremost question to you is, what were you like as a little girl? Strong-willed and ambitious? Please share with us, what were some of the qualities that you had as a young leader?
Well, as a little girl, and like I feel even today, so I have three brothers. I grew up very much a tomboy, out playing soccer on the streets with my brothers and our mutual like neighbors and friends. And the fact my mom and dad never differentiated between me being a daughter versus their three sons. I was quite a rough and I feel like I still am quite a rough and tumble kind of person. But also motivated. My motivation, it comes from within. It's not I was always wanting to do it. I was born in Bahawalpur in Pakistan community service, very, very community oriented.
Well, rough and tough is a great quality to have, Iqra. I would agree that I'm still a bit of that. So I think that's where the strength comes from, and that's why we're called strong women. So kudos to you. My next question is, Iqra, how supportive was your family and your community, especially your school, since you were defying the gender stereotype? And how supportive were they about your ambitions and your leadership qualities? Did they help you nurture that, or were you one of those rebels?
Well, I've always been a rebel. My teachers throughout my whole life have attested to that, but have always been very encouraging. In fact, it was my dad who not only nudged but pushed me to go into politics. He said, Iqra, you have certain qualities that would make you a good politician, that would make you a good community leader. And I said to him, Baba, you have three sons. Why don't you go ask them? I'm too busy, protesting against the government. And he said, well, if you have the opportunity to be in government, then you can make the change that you want to make instead of standing outside the door with your little sign. So, it's been a wonderful journey. With so many mentors along the way. One experience I'll share. I was in grade 11. I think I was about 16 years old at the time. My parents were like, you're going to be a doctor. This is, life sciences. Focus on your mathematics and your biology and chemistry and all of that. And I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I think I want to be a journalist. And she turns to me and she says, I feel like those were words that just pushed you to do the things that you've done so far. And my three brothers, my mom and dad, and so many other friends and supporters and mentors in my life have played such a huge role to where I am today.
Wow, Iqra. I'm actually very impressed to see that the rebel in you turned into such a beautiful leader, and you are not only just a politician, but a leader in the true sense. Iqra, what was university like for you? You must be very active on campus, and you must be doing very, very many things on campus. So what was university like for you? Were you as you mentioned that you had this social activist in you, this fired up social justice warrior, as we say. So were you very active? Were you part of clubs, societies, or were you somebody who was just in the classroom? Although I would think that you were the former and the latter. You were a hybrid of the two.
I was blessed in that I didn't have to study very hard to get the good grades. So I didn't spend a lot of time in the classroom. In fact, my professors barely knew me in the classroom. Like I was part of the debate team, the Model United Nations, the Pakistani Student Association. I was volunteering for so many other clubs. I was an ambassador for my university in with respect to the alumni and in fundraising, etc. For the university. I went to York University here in Canada, and I majored in professional writing and criminology because the idea was to become a journalist. But yes, I remember my initiation into organizing and collaborating with a lot of people was when there were major floods in Pakistan. I think this was the year 2005, 2006, and we, a couple of friends and I, we launched this campaign on our university campus to raise money. Within 2 weeks, we raised about $26,000 and 2 tons of supplies, medical supplies, blankets, and clothing, which we were able to ship to Pakistan. And I think that moment when I really has and the power of organizing and organization. So I've had some really cool moments in university that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Well, I mean, you're still known for your mobilizing skills, Iqra. You're so fantastic at uplifting people, encouraging people, and uniting people. And I think that's what something a great leader does. So kudos to you once again for being so awesome. So finally, the fourth question would be, how did you enter the world of Canadian politics? I think our viewers would like to know maybe 3 hacks that people can perhaps leverage or apply and then venture into politics. What are the top 3 hacks?
Well, I got into politics kind of by accident. It was more of I volunteered ever since I came to Canada, the library, the art gallery. I was teaching art to young kids, like being part of so many clubs, working at women's shelters, food banks, etc. And I met somebody who was a politician. His name is Omar Al Kabra. He's still an MP, and so I started volunteering for his campaign. There was an election going on. I believed in his vision, and so I volunteered on and off with him. And so when after having completed law school, I moved back to Canada, back to Mississauga, my home city. I got back in touch with him, and at that time, there was a leadership campaign going on for our current Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to lead the Liberal Party of Canada, and I had the opportunity to volunteer at one of the many events and to meet the leader, and like I was quite awestruck by how genuine and how sincere this person was, and I felt this is somebody I could really get behind. I kind of went out of my mind doing my own thing, practicing law, all of that. And one day, Omar, one of my mentors, he called me and he said, "Hey, this writing is open. We're looking for a candidate to run for the next election within Erin Mills. What do you think?" And so I told my dad in a very joking way. I said, "Ha, he thinks that I can run." And my dad's like, "Well, yeah, you can run, you can do this." And I said, no, I can't do this. You know how difficult it is to put your name on a ballot, and to have the whole world judge you, and basically to sell yourself to people. It's so difficult. And he said, think of it this way: if you don't win now, we can try again whenever you're ready. And I was 28 to 29 at the time, and I agreed on the basis that I was going to lose this nomination race to become the candidate of my riding, Mississauga Erin Mills. I was so surprised the day that the nomination results were in, and I had won. And then further in the election, I sitting in the seat in the House of Commons, I was like, oh crap, what do I do now? I've won. And just wearing that weight of responsibility. So I think the reasons that I've become or where I am today, really the foundation is on my volunteer work. and on my faith and belief in my mentors to be able to judge me and to push me and to allow to be pushed in that right direction. And quite honestly, my circle of friends and team are so important. So those are the three things I think people can really rely on when they're trying to succeed in whatever profession.
So let's get this right. So generosity, number one. I think that's something that you encourage people to have a heart, volunteer, and of course, relentless, to be relentless. Like they should have the drive to be able to go out and service, whether that is donate time at women's shelters or at healthcare facilities or any cause that they believe in. And finally, of course, you said that find champions and mentors who believe in you and who see your aptitude and reflect and almost mirror to you what your qualities and attributes are and what you would be a good fit for. So absolutely, I think I would agree with all those three hacks. So all those who are looking to venture into politics, those are your top three hacks. Question that I have to Iqra is politics is usually a boys' club. We know that. And still it is. So although over decades, representation is much better, how does one navigate that by making more friends and less foes in politics? So how does one do that?
Like I said, I was 28, 29 when I first started campaigning. And that's a very young age for somebody like myself to be in politics.
Given the fact that you had no political legacy, right?
Nope,
Yeah.
not at all.
So you were an outsider. Yeah.
And my background, I come from a middle class family. My dad was a professor at Islamia University in Bahawalpur before we moved to Canada. It's not been an easy road for sure. I can tell you it's very difficult to navigate to bring people together when you yourself as a young person are not too sure. So when I first started campaigning, the number one criticism that I had received from a lot of our community members was, why are you seeking this federal election, this federal seat? It's the top office in the country. Why don't you start with being on a board, a political board or something? What's a young girl like you going to do? Go and get married, go and have kids, and do all of those. And um, I have to say that if I had been alone in this, I probably would have given up right in those early weeks of campaigning. But my dad was like, what do they know? We got this. We're gonna do this, and then we did. My current role in our the women's caucus, the Liberal Women's Caucus, as well as the All-Party Women's Caucus from all opposition parties as well. And one of the main objectives we have is to remove barriers to women entering politics, to women succeeding in politics. Women face politics very differently than our male counterparts. We're subjected to a lot more abuse, a lot more questions of our character, a lot more questions of our credibility, our knowledge and expertise. And the reality is, even today, that we have to work twice as hard to get half the credit of the work that we do. And it's something that we'll continue to battle, continue to fight for. And, in Canada, we just in the last year introduced historic legislation for the first time ever with respect to pay equity, that men and women should be paid equally for the equal quality of work, for the equal status. And just yesterday, Wednesday, sorry, we elected, there were two by-elections that had happened, and we elected our 100th woman to Parliament, which is the most number of women that we've ever had in our in Canadian history. So obviously the work it continues to to happen. But we always need champions. We always need that support from grassroots organizations, from civil society, from individual women and girls across the world that know the importance of having women at decision-making tables, because quite frankly, our needs cannot be understood by our male counterparts. We need to speak up for ourselves, and we're going to keep on fighting that good fight, because it's quite worth it. We're speaking for 50% of the population.
Absolutely, Iqra. And so, you know, just like you beautifully said that although politics is a boys' club, but we're going to keep fighting for representation and we're going to make sure that we're heard. So kudos to you for making more friends than foes, because I hear from everybody that Iqra is so awesome to be around. So you've definitely proven to make more friends than foes. Now, finally, also number 6, I have, what's next for you, Iqra, now that you've achieved everything that you didn't set out for, but maybe just happened by default. Please do share some projects and causes that you feel that you will continue to work on. I know women empowerment is something that's definitely very close to your heart and that hits home for a lot of us that are on this call and that'll watch the recording. But what are some other causes and projects that you're working on?
There's a number that I am currently working on, and will be embarking on in the coming weeks and months. Over the past couple of years, I've been paying very close attention to studying and making recommendations to our government on the topic and the issue of human trafficking and modern slavery within the world. Unfortunately, it's something that is increasing, and with the dark web and the internet and mobilization, it becomes that much more easier to traffic in persons, whether it's for sex, whether it's for labor. It's becoming more and more a huge issue. Women are more impacted than men, obviously, in this, where women are sold all across the world. And so I've been working with other Commonwealth nations, including Pakistan, to develop a framework, a legislative framework, to see how we can find international cooperation to restrict or limit the cases of human trafficking and slavery across the world. Women empowerment, as you said, Anushae, is a big one for me, especially young girls, not just in politics, but in anything and everything that they can be involved in, for them to excel, to see it, so that they can believe that they are also that they also can do the most that they want to do in their lives, whatever that path may be. And then also bringing together parliamentarians across the world to deal with the issue of online hate, to deal with the issue of polarization within this social media space, and how do countries through their own legislative frameworks navigate through ensuring that their own populations are not subjected to hateful propaganda, incitement of hatred and violence amongst their own communities, amongst their own minorities, wherever in the world they may be. So that's a project I've been working on, laying the framework within Canada, and now we'll be taking it internationally and connecting with other parliamentarians across the world to further that initiative. The Inter-Parliamentary Union is an organization that I take a big part in. But I guess that, and I can just talk forever about all the things that I want to do, the things that I've set clear goals and sights on doing. But ultimately, I just want to leave my mark in the world, and make the world a little bit better with my existence, and that's what I'm going to keep on doing until my last breath.
And Iqra, you're doing it so beautifully. I mean, you're definitely leaving a mark on our audience today, because you have such wonderful things to not only share with us, but so much inspiration that you're leaving back with our viewers today. Iqra, also, what does a day in your life look like? Because you seem like heck of a busy woman. I mean, you're working on so many things and so many projects, and there's so much that you're doing. Please share with us, what does a typical Monday or a Wednesday? I'm sure you don't enjoy weekends like most usual people do, where they go for a movie night or a date night or whatnot. So, what is like?
Well, I can, like a full staff that is her whole life is just managing my schedule, and I cannot function without her. She basically tells me where to go and how long to do it for, which I really appreciate. You're right. Time is, I can, like, for example, yesterday, I started the day at about 8:45 a.m. and my last meeting ended at about 9 p.m. So it was, like about a 13-hour workday, and that's quite normal with all of the responsibilities that I carry in Parliament, and then obviously the family responsibilities. Trust me, every o'clock every night, my mom calls. She says, "Putter karni aayi hai le, kithe ho tu? Where are you? Why aren't you home?" Oftentimes I just like, I'm just in a meeting here, mom. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I get frustrated. But the reality of business is that if you, uh, my reality is that if I really want to do something, I don't care if it's nighttime, if it's daytime, if I've been working 10 hours, 12 hours, 20 hours, however many hours, I will not stop until I've done it, until I've really given my 100% to this. My mom obviously always complains that I don't take care of myself, and I realize the importance of finding that that work-life balance now more and more. But hopefully I'll find that balance for myself at some point. But right now I'm just quite anxious to get going.
Well, you're definitely very, very fired up, and your go-getter spirit is definitely an inspiration for a lot of the young folks. So kudos to you. You look great. So I really hope that your health is also good. So Iqra, these busy days that you have, do you find, is there a practice like a meditation practice or something that keeps you centered in this busy day? Like, what is there something that your day has that keeps you sort of balanced or a little grounded?
um I think the way that I'm able to get through and to accomplish what I'm trying to do, whether it's in a day or a month, a year, or my whole lifetime, is that I don't take myself too seriously. I do what I do, and we have a lot of humor here in my Ottawa office or in my writing office between our team, my family, and I don't let it get to my head, basically. Um, my dad, throughout my whole life, has always said, he says, "Iqra, your main responsibility as a human being, it is to give it your best effort. The results will be up to God." And I've really internalized that in so many ways, to know that it doesn't matter what the outcome is. What matters is how much effort you put into what the outcome is. And if you put in enough effort, inshallah, the outcome will be what you want it to be. And I think that's really what helps me get through everything, is not taking myself too seriously and not focusing on the outcome as much as the hard work to get to the outcome.
Absolutely. I think your wit is definitely something that we love and we're appreciating on this call as well. And yes, surrender. I think when you are a spiritual person like yourself, you tend to surrender the outcome, and you work like it's up to you, but you pray like it's up to God. So your father is definitely right, and thank you for his wisdom. Iqra, also as a successful politician under only 40. What's your advice to make it? What are some of the do's and the don'ts? I know that you've mentioned a couple of times that politics just happened. And I don't look at you as a politician. I look at you as a leader. You are a servant leader. Your leadership is so thoughtful and so generous. But what are the typical do's and don'ts that you think that some young people or young professionals who are coming perhaps from the business world and or healthcare and would like to try their luck at politics?
I think two main lessons that I will share with everybody is one, believe in yourself. If you yourself do not believe in you, then how can you expect other people to believe in you? So have that confidence. And sometimes that confidence or that belief within yourself comes from external factors like your mentors, like your family. But it's also very important to have that within yourself, to know that you're worth it, to know that you mean something in this world. The second thing that I really would encourage people, this is a lesson that I've learned throughout my life, is there's two ways of looking at a problem. You can either say, oh, look, there are so many barriers in front of me, which is a very negative way of looking at things. Or you can say, look at all these challenges in front of me. Now, the difference between a barrier and a challenge, in my mind, even though they may mean the same thing, is that a challenge is made to be overcome, and a barrier is more like it's more negative. It kind of holds you back. So I think that positive framework around what your abilities are and your will to overcome the challenges, instead of your person being bogged down by barriers, that mindset, I think, is very, very important. Yeah, so those are two things that I think, and they apply to anything and everything that you're doing in life, whether it's marriage or raising kids, or in the health profession or the film industry or politics or STEM research, whatever field it is, you must approach it with that mindset that, one, you have what it takes, and two, you're going to overcome those challenges.
Absolutely, Iqra. I think belief beyond reason, that's definitely got to be there. And just like you said, that having a solution-oriented mindset over a problem-oriented mindset in order to face our challenges. And finally, of course, as you said, that attitude, right? So attitude matters big time. So definitely those are the do's. And Iqra, also now I would like to ask you that what's the most important skill? I know that you're known for your ability to mobilize people. You're definitely known for your ability to motivate people and your relentless drive and your generosity. But I would also say that your networking skills are quite great, and so are your fundraising skills. How would you agree to that?
So my fundraising skills are not that great, to be honest. As a
Well, you
woman,
raised
and
$26,000 for the Pakistani flood victims.
but it
So
wasn't
that's,
for me, right? It wasn't
yeah,
for me. It
okay.
was for a good cause. But
Yes,
it's just statistically, women have a much more difficult time asking for money than our male counterparts, and that's one of the barriers, one of the challenges that women face in entering politics or remaining in politics, just because of that fundraising. Um, I think there's a lot to learn when you're in politics, and in order for you to do that, to learn, to be successful, you have to have an open mind and a slightly bowed head. I think arrogance is the biggest killer of politicians, and the when you stop trying to learn, you basically have started digging your own grave. In politics, the number one thing that you must know how to do, it is to to collaborate, to bring people together. In order for you to do that, you have to have that open mind, and you have to be willing to compromise, to listen as well as to speak. And I think many people often forget that that is what the essence of politics is. It is the management of people, the management of relationships. And if you stop valuing those people and those relationships, you will be an utter failure in this world anyway. So I think the number one thing that I try to do, I'm obviously not successful 100% of the time, is to stay humble and to listen. Because if you're not listening, then you're not building those connections. You're not building that network. You're not learning if you're not listening. So yeah, those are my 2 cents in this.
Your 2 cents. Well, I think you're right, because arrogance for politicians is not only bad for their own political career and image, but also it causes a lot of destruction in our world. So definitely that's something that we bring here now. Don't do that. Women feel shy or feel too salesy asking for money. I don't think I'm like that. I come from a business family myself, so money is always on the mind. But I think that it's something that I do agree with, and I think that women like yourself, they're bringing out the conversation of, hey, politics or any other career, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, it does require knowing your finances and knowing the money matters as well. So absolutely. And then Iqra, I also want to ask you now that for young girls who are in their teens, who are seeking role models, what's your advice personally and professionally? For me, I had a couple of role models that I looked up to, and I think that most people know this on the call, off the call, that Benazir was a big role model for me. So, and of course, she went on to become the first female prime minister twice elected of a Muslim country. And I myself studied politics with a minor in law and business. So, who are your role models? Is there a poster of a role model in your office or in your room or in your little bag? So, is there a role model that you look up to, you want to be like, or no?
Yes, absolutely. I think all of us aspire to be someone or to be like someone, and imitation is the highest form of flattery, I always find. My current role model is Jacinda Ardern, who is the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She is a trailblazer. My gosh, this woman is young, she's dynamic, she is down to earth, and she gets things done. And she does all of this while also being a mother, while she was a prime minister. I think she's really doing some wonderful things. Um, Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, is another person that I really look up to. My mother is a person that I really look up to and aspire to be like. Her tenacity and her hard work. Like when she starts working, she doesn't think anything else. She's just, all right, I got to get this done. I'm going to do it, and here we go. And she's an entrepreneur herself. Wonderful woman. My dad obviously is another great inspiration. His whole life story and his life journey is quite fascinating, and something that I take lessons from every single day. I think um, your role models, your inspiration, it doesn't need to come from one source. It needs to come from all sources. It needs to come from every single thing that is in your life that you consume. And the more that you hang around with what you want to be like, the more that you'll really get to be there. And so, my life goal currently is to sit down with Jacinda Ardern and just ask her, how are you doing this? Young, especially in my connected to their, and they sit and they ask me, say, Iqra, how are you doing this? And it's I guess it's a circle. We all ultimately just try to our.
Well, your parents are so, I mean, they sound so awesome. I would love to meet with them someday. And Jacinda, definitely, she definitely, you know, took the world by the storm during the COVID crisis. I think she did it so beautifully. I mean, it's really very inspiring to see a leader like her rise to the top and change the face of the game, actually. And so you're doing just the same, Iqra. You are not only wonderful, but you're just brilliant. So thank you for being you, and thank you for being so awesome, Iqra. Now we have some questions, Iqra, that the audience has sent in. You know, before pre session, so we can slowly move towards them if that was okay with you. Okay, great. So we have about 6 questions that have come in. And so now I'm going to take the opportunity to read out the questions, and perhaps you can one by one answer them, and we can see how that goes as well. So the first question we have from one of our guests is that, as a South Asian woman, were you ever discouraged? This is by Shaista Ali from Canada. So were you ever discouraged? Just like you mentioned that some people said, hey, go home, bake cookies, go home and make babies. This is not for you. Or go be on the board. Don't be an MP. I don't know, go do like, go be a doctor. The typical things that I've heard as well in a different way. So please go ahead and share with us, how were you discouraged?
You know, when you find success after being discouraged, that success tastes that much more sweeter. I'm a victim of that, I have to say. The discouragement comes from you know, many different angles, and specifically the South Asian community is I think what the question was asking about. The South Asian community in Mississauga is generally quite broad-based, very open-minded, but you know, as we deal with and we try to work with our uncles and our fathers, we understand that, you know, where in my, you know, in my role as a member of parliament, I'm a leader within my community. It's very difficult sometimes for people that are older than I am, much older than I am, to kind of give that respect or to listen to what I have to say. So navigating that is very challenging, I'll tell you, but it's something that I deal with every single day. And if I can't get the message across, then I send my dad to go and get the message across, or I send Samir Bhai to go and get the message across, or I send some of my, you know, older South Asian male friends to go and get the message across. So discouragement is everywhere, not just within the South Asian community, but if you've got a will, there's always a way to get past that.
Well, you're definitely right. I mean, you are set up against, you know, an ideology that you are trying to transform. And I think our guest is asking this from the perspective that did this discourage you, but actually it encouraged you, because I think you have the mindset that haters gonna hate, makers gonna make, and lovers gonna love, and you're so sassy about this whole thing that you're like, hey, I'm going, who's coming with me? So kudos to you once again, Iqra. The second question is short, but a bit, I thought it was funny, so I thought we'd share it. It's by Dr. Anila, and she says, when are you visiting Pakistan?
I've been trying to visit Pakistan for the past 5 years, to be honest. My last time I was in Pakistan was in 2010, so it's been a long time. my parents visit almost every year, and then my brothers and their wives and the kids. So जब भी मेरी बारी आती है कोई और तैयार खड़ा होता है पहले से. To be honest with you, like that's the reality of our situation at home. But you know, again, I spoke to Samir Bhai about this as well. I'm hoping to. I was hoping in April to come to Pakistan earlier this year. Obviously, COVID happened, but we're trying to put together a delegation. What I really want to do is to go from one corner of Pakistan to the next corner of Pakistan, just coast to coast, and have as much food as possible. I think the street food in Pakistan is like no other food in anywhere in the country. I love ganna juice. It's I've been thirsting for ganna juice for forever. So hopefully by early next year, I'll be making a trip to have some ganna juice at the very least.
Well, Iqra, the food awaits you, and so do the people of Pakistan. We really, really look forward to seeing you very soon. And yes, the delegation needs to come to Pakistan. I hope this COVID situation settles down and you're able to come here and meet your well-wishers and friends. So the third question is, Iqra, once again, as you mentioned that you did face odds and you faced the hurdles and you looked at them like challenges. So you altered your mindset. And as we discussed, that attitude determines altitude. What were some hurdles? I mean, like you and I think we would agree that, of course, sexism and patriarchy are embedded in the system, and that's definitely one of the top ones that we face as strong women, as a politician, myself as a businesswoman. But what are some other hurdles that you must have faced? One of our viewers is asking. Is there anything that you'd like to shed some light on here?
Yeah. So in 2017, I tabled a motion in the House of Commons asking our government to combat the rise of Islamophobia within Canada. And that amongst other types of racist behavior and systemic racism within the country. And it was supposed to be, in my mind, it was supposed to be a kumbaya moment where all the different political parties come together and say, yes, we need to build bridges between Canadians. We need to really address this issue because it is in our social benefit, it is in our economic benefit to have a well-functioning society, and that where all members of that society feel included. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. It became a very polarizing moment where you know, I faced the very thing that I was trying to fight, which was Islamophobia. I received a number of death threats. People threatened to kill me. I had like police stationed outside of my office. You know, like I was my movements were then being monitored at all times, just for my safety, my family's safety as well. And I received, I think it was close to 80,000 emails, 90,000 emails, you know, just expressing their hatred towards me. And this was coming from like within Canada and then all across the world, of people that just had very negative views of Muslims and of myself being a Muslim woman. And then there were a number thousands of emails that were messages encouraging me, and they were also, you know, like I remember there was an older Irish lady who wrote me an email and said, Iqra, you're doing wonderful. This is so important. Thank you for taking the charge. Thank you for leading us on this issue. We definitely need to combat racism, because when she first immigrated to Canada 50 years ago as an Irish woman, faced racism herself. And so, you know, that was, I think, one of the most challenging hurdles that I hope was, you know, I was able to accomplish something positive out of that. I led the country in a conversation about our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, about where does one freedom stop and another freedom begin for somebody else. That motion that I had tabled in the House, it passed with a majority, and we were able to receive $23 million that was then allotted to organizations on the ground combating racism within Canada. It also led to the creation of an anti-racism secretariat within Canada. So, you know, I could have, and in fact, the opposition parties on a number of occasions, through media pressure, through personal pressure, political pressure, tried to have me withdraw my motion so that they would not have to vote on it one way or the other. But I kind of stuck to my guns and I said, nope, you know what? You don't want to vote for it. Don't vote for it. I don't care if nobody votes for this motion, but this is an issue. I'm raising it. Canadians told me that this is an issue, and that's why I'm raising it. And then ultimately, I persevered, and I think our government persevered, and all of Canada as a society persevered because we were able to redefine the social contracts that we have with each other, with respect to our rights and freedoms and just being able to exist.
Wow. So Iqra, I mean, I definitely relate to some of the matter that you've discussed about women of color, and of course, as a Muslim woman trying to make it. I definitely think that your contribution in that area has been nothing but great, and thank you so much for doing the work that you do and speaking out. You've managed to actually get the right balance between listening and speaking. So this time I think you made yourself heard, and you said that I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to say what I need to say, and I better be heard. I love what your sass is about. You're just so amazing, Iqra. I'm so honored once again to be with you here. Iqra, we have another question from our audience here. Raafia Mamujee asks, how can Pakistani female businesses, so female-led businesses in Pakistan, how can they collaborate with the Canadian market and have access to Canadian customers, clients, or even investors? We know that that women-led businesses receive only 2% of the funding. It's the boys club, the boys fund boys. So how can the women have access to the Canadian market? Maybe CPBC would be a great platform, but please do share with us some ideas.
Absolutely. And this was a conversation I had with our international trade minister, Mary Ng, about a month ago. I was inquiring about the potential of having a free trade agreement between Canada and Pakistan to really encourage that trade. And it is in the works. We did start negotiating such a trade agreement a number of years ago, and we're hoping that on our side, Canada is very much willing to engage in such a trade mission. There are a number of resources that are available to female entrepreneurs that are trying to make it and to find new markets within Canada while operating in Pakistan. The Trade Commissioner, the Canadian Trade Commissioner for Pakistan, is a great resource. Our High Commissioner, Wendy Gilmore, is another great resource. There are micro grants that are available for organizations that are operating on the ground, seeking to scale up, etc. And a lot of that information is available on their website. But at the same time, I think the importance of continuing to build those people-to-people relationships is huge in opening up new markets. Canada and Canadians are very much interested in doing business with Pakistan, in exchanging culture, in exchanging education, for example, sports with Pakistan. And those are things that we're continuing to work on. Obviously, taliye khat se nahi bachti. We do need that cooperation from the other side as well, to make sure that we're working in the best interests for young women and just women entrepreneurs in general, and Pakistanis and Canadians and their best interests in trade. I think Pakistan is a phenomenal market that Canada can really benefit benefit from, just as Canada is quite a lucrative market that Pakistan can really benefit from. We just need to continue to build those bridges. We're working on it, but would really appreciate all of your support in encouraging the government of Pakistan to enter into more negotiations and to encourage such trade partnerships with Canada.
Absolutely, Iqra. And I think that I've been here for 3 years now, and I would say that Pakistani women are definitely very driven. They're super creative. And given the right support and the chops, I think they can do wonders. And of course, Uzra with her Ladies Fund platform is doing just that. So one of the other questions that we have here for you is that, Iqra, how have the men in your life impacted the strong woman that you've become? How have they, how, of course, your father has ignited or reignited the fire in you, but how have other men in your life, perhaps friends and mentors, that have impacted the woman that you are?
I have 3 brothers. I'm number 2 out of the 4 of us. I have an older brother and 2 younger brothers. They're all very much taller than I am. You know, again, like I said earlier, I've you know, grew up in a very rough and tumble kind of household. You know, my brothers have this very strange ability to make me very upset, but also very comforted at the same time. I don't even know how the two intersect there. But they're just such amazing people. They're so supportive. I can talk to them about anything and everything, you know, and they're just there. And so are my puppies. My 3 puppies are also just really phenomenal people. They support their husbands. They support me. Like, we have a very close knit family here in Canada. And obviously there are friends along the way as well, who give me the opportunity, and some of my friends, like, it's very difficult for me to make friends. First and foremost, as much as I am very much an open person, I am a very shy person when it comes to me personally. So it's quite difficult for me to make friends, true friends, I would say. So some of the friends that I have are very, very old friends, like, you know, 10, 11, 12, 20 years old. And we've been able to maintain and continue that relationship. And the one thing that I always appreciate, and this is the differentiating factor between what is a true friend and what is not a true friend, is that my true friends, my good friends, always tell me the truth. They tell me what I sometimes don't want to hear. They tell me when I've messed up. They tell me when I'm being unreasonable, and then they hold me to account and say, "Okay, lady, you need to stop right there. I get it. You're an MP or whatever else you may be, but first and foremost, you're my friend, and I'm telling you that you messed up and you need to fix this." And that's, I think, for me, the most important aspect of a relationship. And I'm very lucky to get that from my dad, from my brothers, and some very close and old friends in my life.
Well, definitely, I think honesty is a quality that we would all appreciate. It's so rare to find today, and you are right that some of your old friends definitely tend to have that. They can be blunt with you, right? And sometimes truth is rude, but they tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So yes, that is what we have. And then finally, Iqra, the question that I am dying to ask you is, if you were the Prime Minister of Canada, what would be on your agenda?
You know, I have never in my life thought about being prime minister of anything. I like my freedom to do what I want to do, to pick up the issues I want to pick up, to be selective in what I want to advocate for. It's one of the most difficult jobs, and I see Prime Minister Justin Trudeau struggling sometimes. Like, and I just wonder, like, how is it that this man can you know, get up at the beginning of the day and say, today we are going to keep our country functioning, that he's responsible for millions of people, their health and safety, to develop plans and programs. So I really don't know what I would do other than to follow Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in what he's doing, because I really believe that he's doing the right things. He's providing the right supports to Canadians, especially in this pandemic. And I'll continue to do what I can to support him in his leadership, because I believe in it.
That is so humble of you once again, but I really see you going to the top, and all my best wishes and my prayers are with you. I hope you make it there someday. And on that note, I would like to end our session. And it's been an honor once again and a pleasure, Iqra, for having you here. Thank you for taking out the time for us and being a part of our Lean in Pakistan speaker series. I would now like to request Tara Uzra Dawood to please give a vote of thanks to Iqra.
Thank you, Anushae. That was really wonderful. Thank you.
So thank you both, Anushae, and
You're welcome.
thank you both, Anushae, and of course, MP Khalid, for that wonderful conversation and discussion, and for everyone being a part of it. Just so you know, now that your conversation is over, Iqra, we actually did in our marketing tell everyone this is the same as meeting Kamala Harris before she became Vice President-elect, and that there's no limit to where you're going to be, and we all do hope one day you are the Prime Minister, following in the footsteps of many great ones before you, or wherever you choose to be. But most importantly, thank you so much for spending this time with us here today. And also, I know Samir Dossal, our collaborator and partner, has a few words, and then you'll get to meet some of the Lean In board members. So first, Samir.
Thank you, Tara, and thank you, Anushae, for conducting an amazing session. And a special thank you to Iqra. It was so enjoyable to hear you speak and inspire everybody. I'm just watching the comments, and it's phenomenal. Great job. I just wanted to point out a few things. Somewhere way back in July, in your office, Minister Ahmed Hussain made the announcement that that Pakistan will now be on the special direct stream for fast tracking student visas. So I thought this would be an opportune time to mention that process is on, even though the pandemic is affecting it. But that's an initiative that has been pushed by everybody, including yourselves, the Canada-Pakistan Business Council, and the community put together. At that point in time, Pakistan became the 5th country to have that status. There are more, but this is very positive. The feedback of students coming from Pakistan is phenomenal. 2-3 points that came about, and I just would like to just touch upon it. We talked about business, and people asked, how can people engage in business? I want to say that we are fortunate. Canada-Pakistan Business Council is absolutely overwhelmed and fortunate and excited that we've been given a task, and we are getting part funding from the Global Affairs to create a Canada-Pakistan web portal. We are in its stage where we are trying to launch it in December with all the things. It might go ahead, but for all you people out there, please stay in touch through Tara Uzra Dawood, through all these relationship, that we will have a web portal which will exclusively try and connect businesses in Pakistan and businesses in Canada, and that we will be putting together. So we are excited. Global Affairs has kind of endorsed it. They're partly funding it. So that's going to be an amazing thing. One more thing I wanted to point out from your government's point of view, you should be saying that, Iqra, is that the government of Canada last year also announced a $20 million grant for women empowerment in Pakistan, and that's being routed through many not-for-profit and charitable organizations. So also the fact that recently Minister Mary Ng and Mr. Razak Dawood had this conversation. I think the feedback has been phenomenal. We are hoping that this will take things to the next level, and we are hoping that more and more trade. We are hovering around 1.5 billion bilateral trade. So tremendous potential out there. So my focus is whilst collaborating, whilst identifying great women in our community, and the trade aspect helps create those relationships. So thank you very much. I thought this was something that I wanted to share some information. And as we move forward, we have plans in working with the Dawood Global Foundation, and Tara, Anushae, and all of you guys. We're looking forward to working with you as well. And special thanks to Iqra Khalid for really that wonderful conversation. And thanks to Anushae for making that happen. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Samir. And thank you very much, Tara, Uzra. And here we are back with Iqra. Iqra, thank you so very much for being with us today. I'd like to share with you a little bit about the Lean in Pakistan speaker series that I've been recently brought on to chair. So the speaker series that we have is basically a digital speaker series, and we call it the Digital Speaker Series 2020 and beyond. What we have here is that we have a monthly session once a month, and we have a speaker which is predominantly, we're going for female speakers, but some well-meaning men as well that can continue to inspire our audience. And our roster is full of speakers from all across, they're speakers from across the board, whether they're in healthcare or politicians like yourself or business women or whatnot. So we have our next speaker that we have coming on December 27th so far is Usha Srinivasan. Usha is a graduate from the Stanford School of Business, and Usha also has been the vice president of the Mass District that is very popular in Canada. She has also now been brought on to be the vice president up at the DMZ in Brampton. So we're really looking forward to our next speaker, and so on and so forth. We will have speakers from the Women in Capital Markets and many other companies and associations, whether trade and non-trade associations as well. So please stay tuned, Iqra. We would love your support moving forward. Now I would like to take the opportunity to bring on Sayyida Raafia Mamujee, who is our circle supervisor, to talk about our circles. Raafia, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anusha. Thank you, Anusha, once again for this wonderful session. And thank you, Iqra Khalid, for being an amazing person. And we know so many things that's really great for us. I'm Sayyida Raafia Mamujee, handling all, I'm working as a Lean In supervisor, Lean In Pakistan. And in this pandemic, we did such a great things. Tara, Uzra, Dawood, we are doing so many Zoom meetings with our circles, and we did global meetings with circles. So now also on 29th November, we are doing our yearly circle certificate ceremony. And this is for the circles who being with us till 1 year and more. So this is really wonderful platform for all of working women, for our youth and everyone. So if anyone it's new for this circle and they are here, they can contact us for our Join Lean in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sayyida Raafia Mamujee. For all your circle needs, please do connect with Raafia. She'll be happy to help you. Now we have Eesha Afridi, who's the youth leader, and she's going to talk about her youth circles. Eesha, over to you, please.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. Wow, I came to this particular session for my love of international politics, though I've been told a lot of that time that politics isn't for me. I'm better being a medical student. And it's safe to say that I took a lot of notes for you as a leader. I got to learn a lot of things about how to be a good leader. So thank you, Iqra, for that. Anushae kindly asked me to share more about my circle. My circle, every time I'm asked to talk more about my circle and how it came into being, I come up with a new story and a new reason as to why I am doing what I am doing. So, but the how remains the same. So Pakistani Youth Lean In Circle came into being because of a lot of reasons. Firstly, being like you mentioned, Ikra, that you didn't succumb to your parents telling you to go be a doctor. I did. And when I was in my first year of medical school, I realized that that urge of being the lawyer was still there. And I loved to speak. I was a public speaker throughout my entire high school and college, and I loved speaking about social issues. And Youth Lead-In Circle sort of gave me that platform and like a personal place where I could talk about the things I was passionate about. So that's one of the first personal reasons how it came into being. The second being the issues themselves. Um, the more I go forward with my circle sessions, the more I connect with the youth of my country, I realize that our problems, our hurdles are endless. We're not only connected, we're not only separated from each other, but we are separated from the world that is around us. So I started off my circle by having the very first session on gender inequality, and it was just I tell my circle members to just talk about your story, what happened with you, and why do you have a certain opinion? Tell me your story. So just started off with hearing stories. Gender inequality, of hearing what girls had to say, hearing what guys have to say, and I realized that we're all in this together. It moved on to we had a episode of cyberbullying. It moved on to talking about cyberbullying. Then it moved about on to having something to do with mental health, then something to do with anger management. And sooner or later, I realized that right now, currently with my circle, we're dealing with everything that the youth of Pakistan, the hindrance that the Pakistani youth is facing. Currently, there are two main things that I'm focusing on via my circle. First, being the opportunity gap that the Pakistani youth is having. We don't have the opportunities that exist around the world, that should be there for the Pakistani youth. So we're working on that. For that, I bring ordinary Pakistani people like myself, young individuals who are doing extraordinary work, and I let them share their story with the circle members in hopes that it will inspire them and give them a path to work onto, and they will exactly know how to achieve their dreams. Secondly, I'm not only connecting the people of the youth of Pakistan with themselves, I'm working on connecting them with the youth around the world. So I've connected with our friends in India, and last week we connected with our friends in Japan. And for the first time ever, my circle members said that they having this cultural exchange and talking about things that go in Japan and then things that go with the youth in Pakistan. They thought that they were talking for themselves and they were advocating for themselves, and they weren't letting these biases that exist in the media for the Pakistani youth speak. And it was amazing. So when you mentioned that you want somebody to extend a hand from Pakistan for the youth, then I would say that me and my circle would gladly extend and help and connect with the youth in Canada and get to know them more and share what we have to offer. That's all my circle has to do, is just about youth empowerment. It's just about bringing all individual ordinary people like myself and tell them that they can make it and they can do it. Thank you. That is all I have to say.
Hi, everyone. I think Anushae's battery is low, so we just want to say on behalf of the entire Lean in Pakistan, we are thrilled to have hosted you here today. Thank you once again to our MP Iqra Khalid for being an incredible chief guest, sharing her insight as well as her personal stories and journey has been greatly meaningful to us all. Thank you so much to Samir for his wonderful, wonderful partnership and collaboration in this event, and to all the people from Canada watching here today. Thank you, of course, to Anushae for the wonderful moderation and the chairing of our speaker series here at Lean in Pakistan. Thank you, of course, to all of the board members, including Raafia, Circle Supervisor, and Eesha, our youth supervisor, for their contribution and speaking here today. And most of all, thank you to all our members and all of you on the call today. Lean in Pakistan is all for you and by you and about you. And if you weren't here, there wouldn't have even been a call today. So thank you for your questions, your engagement, And just have to say, have a wonderful weekend.